Dear Imani. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Dear Imani. I'm your host, Imani, obviously. Happy fall, everyone. It is now fall. Well, I guess today's the last day of summer, so I guess tomorrow's the first day of fall. But when you're listening to this, it's going to be fall, and the weather is kind of showing that. I'm so excited for this season. That means Christmas is right around the corner, which is my personal favorite time of year. And this fall, I'm really trying to elevate my wardrobe. I'm trying to feel very grown. I made a TikTok about this because I was like, I need to elevate my wardrobe, get capsule pieces. I'm very much a fast fashion type of girly in the sense of I like to buy trendy clothes and then I won't wear it the next season or like the next year. So I'm trying to build my wardrobe to be something that's a little bit more timeless. And so one of my best friends, Cha Cha, and I made this list. It literally took about an hour to make a list of all the must-haves that you need to have this fall, from shoes, accessories, bottoms, dresses, sets, all those things. So if you look at my TikTok and my Instagram, I posted it. You could take a screenshot. It's like a 3-page list, and I'm currently shopping for all of that. So if you're interested in getting your fall wardrobe elevated and just to look like that girl this entire season, then check out that list, and then also follow me on TikTok at it's Imani Blackman, because I'm gonna be posting a whole series of shopping for fall fashion and styling the outfits and all of those good things. So overall, I'm just super excited for fall. Also, the pumpkin chai latte thing at Starbucks is so good. Like, it's fire. Like, that first sip, you're like, it's hella sugar though. Like, I'm not telling you it's healthy, but it is a lot. It's a lot of sugar. And like the grande is almost 500 calories. So, it's a lot going on, but it is really, really good. Overall, you can tell I'm just pumped for fall. And yeah, let's just get into it. All right, next thing, I'm giving you a little bit of updates. So, next thing, Shaloy is getting married next week. You guys know that I've talked about her getting married. I talked about her bachelorette on the podcast, and I'm her maid of honor. So, she's getting married next week, and I'm so excited. I can't believe it's already here. It came by so freaking fast, but the fact that she's going to be a wife is insane. But I'm so excited. I still need to write my speech. I have it all bullet pointed out what I want to say. But I need to write it down because I want to read off the paper so I don't skip a beat. Because obviously this is a very important speech. You guys know I talk all the damn time. Like, literally, I have a podcast. I'm talking all the time. I talk all the time. I vlog, I TikTok, all the things. But this is different, right? It's like your best friend's getting married and you gotta speak in front of all her closest friends and family, and then you're her maid of honor, so you gotta come correct. So I'm gonna write it all down and get it put together. I'm trying to be funny, but then also have like tear-jerking moments where people are like, oh my God, that was so good. So she's getting married next week. Next thing is that Alex and I are going to homecoming again next month. So if you're not familiar with homecoming, especially at HBCU, it is like the biggest thing ever. Everyone, like alumni, all come down, and it's just like this weekend of turn up, honestly. Like, there's a football game, of course, a ton of different parties. Last year was my first year ever going to a homecoming like that, or even stepping foot at HBCU. And it was so much fun. I made an entire vlog last year, and I'm gonna do the same this year, and maybe even like bring Alex on the podcast again, kind of to dive deeper into HBCU culture. I know after Beyonce's homecoming at Coachella, everyone was like, it was like a new world for people that weren't familiar with it. So it'd be kind of cool to talk about on the podcast. But overall, I'm so excited to go on this trip again because we had a blast last time. And now that I know some of the people, like some of his friends, I know what to expect, I'm gonna be more lit this time. I feel like I held back a little bit because I was like, "Ah, I don't know everybody, and it's like my first time here." But now, yeah, I'm about to be turned up. Alrighty, so this episode is about our society and the idea of inclusion. And we're going to kind of dive deeper in it with a couple examples. And there's one specific example that made me want to talk about this topic. But overall, I propose the question to you guys: do you think that everyone should be in every room? And I will explain that a little bit more later. But like, overall, when you hear that question and thinks, yeah, of course, everyone should be in every room because that's what we fight so hard for inclusion and diversity, and especially marginalized groups, Black people, women, people of color, the queer community, always fighting endlessly to have a seat at the table or have the tools to be able to create our own table. So the question of, do you think everyone should be in every room? your progressive mindset might say, obviously, yes. But there are some examples where you're going to surprise yourself where you're like, oh, I actually don't think everyone should be in every room. And we will dive into that. So, throughout this podcast episode, you're going to notice I might go back and forth a lot with my opinion or my take on it, just because one, I'm working it out in my head, like my own thoughts. And two, I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with the statements at all. It's just like what I feel like with each situation. So before I confuse it anymore of what we're actually going to be talking about is the reason why I thought about this is because recently Miss Universe, the pageant, announced that any woman of any age can compete in Miss Universe starting next year. So literally of any age. So your grandmother, your great grandma can compete for Miss Universe. And that is something that is extremely new. This is coming off of last year when they added the additional rule that you can be pregnant, you can be married, and you can have kids and compete at Miss USA and Miss Universe. So before that, you had to be under 27 or under 28. So you had to be 27 years old to compete. And then you weren't allowed to have any children. You weren't allowed to be married and you weren't allowed to have ever been pregnant. Those were the very strict rules of the Miss Universe organization and Miss USA and of course Miss Teen USA. So now these rules have recently changed and all in the name of inclusion. So of course, anytime there is change, there is discussion and a lot of people get either upset or they really agree with it. So that's what made me think of the question, do you think everyone should be in every room? Because of the fact that you have some people that are like, oh my gosh, of course, you don't reach your peak at 27. You can always, go after your goals, go after your dreams. It doesn't take someone that's just super young to be Miss Universe or Miss USA. On the other end, you have people like, oh my gosh, there absolutely needs to be an age cap. There's no reason why older women should be competing in this pageant, yada, yada, yada. So I once again propose the question, do you think that everyone should be in every room? So I'll start with my opinion and then we'll go into all of your submissions. So my opinion, I have competed in pageants for a really long time, like you guys already know, since I was 5 years old. And I had the honor of competing at Miss Teen USA at 17 and then at Miss USA in 2020. So I have a lot of experience in the pageant world. And in my opinion about why I started pageants or why I love pageants is because I feel like it's such a growing period. I learned so much about myself. I learned communication skills, passion projects, community service. You just learn a lot about yourself in going into womanhood. And I've always looked at pageantry as something that builds you up and prepares you for adulthood and other chapters in your life, whether that be your career or family or anything like that. It prepares you for that. So my opinion about it is I believe pageantry is, like I said, something that happens at a specific point in your life. And I'm not going to say pageantry, Miss USA specifically, because there are pageants for every age group, but there are other systems. I think that Miss USA is for something in a very specific time in your life. And I compare it a lot to Girl Scouts. And I talked about this in my story before, but Girl Scouts. Like I cannot sign up for Girl Scouts right now because girl, I'm too old. What the hell? And Girl Scouts is for building those fundamentals, building that relationship with other girls and learning those skills that you're going to need into adulthood or like, as you're becoming a teenager and all those things. So that's what Girl Scouts is for, is to really build that community and also help build yourself. I now at my big age will not be in Girl Scouts because I'm just not supposed to be with them. That's for a very specific time, right? And to help build them. And that's how I felt for Miss USA too. I always looked at it as something that it helps build young women into becoming older women or like whatever point that you want to make in your life. So now that's a lot different. So that is my opinion of that. But then once again, this is where I go back and forth because who am I to say and dictate when someone is allowed to keep growing in the way that I'm trying to explain it as? Like what I'm trying to say is, well, it's only for this specific timeline, but then it's like, well, that means you put an age on when you should be at a certain point in life, which is something that I don't agree with at all. Like I am a firm believer that you can make any goal happen for you at any time. That's just never too late to start something. We're not at our prime in our 20s. Like you're continuing to be in your prime throughout your entire life and you're always learning new things. And I talked about this before, but like the Barbie movie really helped. I feel like girls and women realize like we're always just girls at heart. We're just girls. We like to wear pink. We like to play with like dolls or whatever. Like you don't have to grow up in the way that you think you do. So that's not the point I'm trying to make at all. So that's why I kind of like go back and forth with myself because I'm like, who am I to just say that Miss USA is for this point in your life and you can't do it after, you know? So going into your guys' submissions, the first question I ask, should there be an age limit for Miss Universe? All right. So right now, like I said, there is no age limit. Starting next year, you can be any age. And before it was under 28. So the first one we have is yes, but maybe raise the age to 30 to 35 instead of 27, but no older than that. And I do agree with that too. I did think that, especially when they announced that you could be married and have kids. I'm like, well, then of course you need to raise the age limit because now that's pretty young to be married and have kids in your early 20s. Like you might as well raise the age limit to something in your 30s when more women are probably at that chapter or at that phase in their life married and have kids, right? So I was like 30 to 33 because there are other pageant systems that do go up to like 32. So I was like, okay, they at least have to raise it to like 30 something. So I was not expecting like an endless age, like no age cap, honestly. So this person said 30 to 35. This person says, should there be an age limit for Miss Universe? Nope. If Miss USA is your calling, if it was meant for you, it's for you and bask in it. Yeah, and I agree in the sense of you have every right to continue to go after your goals past 27 years old. Obviously, like that is not what anyone is. That's not what I'm saying at all. So I do agree with that. But then some people argue if Miss USA is he says if Miss USA is your calling, but it's like, is it your calling if it just wasn't in your timeline? You know what I mean? Like it's not for everyone. Everything is not for everyone. That's just kind of how life works. But next one, absolutely increase it to 35 max. Older than that, you need to focus on other career goals. And that's a submission that I got quite a few times is you should be focusing on something else at that point. And that's kind of what my initial opinion about it was too, because I was like, it's Girl Scouts. You pass Girl Scouts, you have to focus on something else. It's time to, I guess, quote unquote, grow up is what it feels like. But then once again, it's like this person is saying you have to now focus on your career goals. And it's like, who's to say that being Miss USA is not one of your career goals? And say you're 50 years old and your kids are already grown up, or you don't have kids or whatever, but your kids are already grown up. You've had a really good job for the past 20 years. And now you're like, I'm ready to be Miss USA. Like, who's to say that that is not a good situation? You know what I mean? So for someone to think that you need to focus on other career goals could also be a little controversial because it's like, why can't Miss USA be one of your career goals when you're older? So you can see how I'm going back and forth this whole entire time. So I'm like, I don't have a strong opinion about either one. I think I lean more towards I do think there should have been an age cap. But that's mainly because too, I feel like you could start Miss USA or Miss Universe at 19 years old. So then imagine a 50-year-old woman compared to a 19-year-old woman. How do you compare those two? Like when it comes to the interview, when it comes to where they are in their life, maybe even the success in the sense of career, financially, the wisdom that this person would have over a 20-year-old. So that's like the biggest battle I think that a lot of people are struggling with to figure out how this is going to change the scoring system, the idea of Miss USA and Miss Universe. Okay, next one we have, I think there is a difference between being banned from a space and a space being for you. And I thought that was really interesting and also true. Because I guess technically before, women at a certain age were banned from, competing in the pageant because of their age. Next one. I agree with you. It's for a season for your life, and then you should move on. Yeah, and that's my overall opinion on it. But then again, I feel so bad even saying that because I'm like, who's to say you just need to move on? Like you could do whatever you want. All right, next one. Okay, this is actually one of my favorite submissions. It says, everyone can't come. Age limits are there to provide a certain section of people the chance to do something. Room should be more open to different types of people within that demographic. Inclusion means including people overlooked in a group, not just allowing more outside of said group to join. So I thought that was worded perfectly, honestly, especially if you have the opinion that there should be an age cap. Because at the end of the day, once again, this specific sport or hobby is for a specific age demographic and for you to grow and for you to get around women at that age. And I believe that's okay. And so that's why I had initially proposed a question. Do you think everyone should be allowed in the same rooms? Because I do think there are rooms that it's okay for a specific demographic of people to be in. And by the way, we are not talking about the KKK. Like this is not the same thing. I don't want to hear nothing about no race. Like also white people can make their own groups. You had that. It's the KKK. Anyway, so what I'm talking about more is just specific groups that, where you're learning and building off of each other. So like, let's like keep using the example of the Girl Scouts or this Miss USA. It's just like you are in this particular age group and this particular moment in your life, and you guys are all doing the same type of thing. So I also, the statement of inclusion means including people overlooked in a group, not just allowing more people of said group to join. And I think what this person means too is like for the past, well, forever for Miss USA, Miss Universe, for example, we've never seen a plus size woman become Miss USA or Miss Universe. So they could have that was another level of inclusivity that could have been added without raising the age limit. Basically saying there was still things to be worked on within the demographic that they already had, opposed to adding more people, because they still have a lot of work to do right now when the age cap was under 28, if that makes sense. All right, next one. I think it should just be like other pageant systems. Example, National American Miss, which is a pageant I used to do when I was younger, and they should have age division. So this was another topic that people thought, is that they should have age division. So instead of just saying there's no age cap, it's limitless, you could have Miss USA and then possibly have like Mrs. Miss USA or Ms. USA, and just added another division, because we already have Miss Teen USA, Miss USA, and then we could have added Ms. USA. So that could have been like 28 plus, or that could have been the division where people were married and had kids, So just like a lot of systems, there are age divisions, and age divisions matter because you're at different points in your life. Because imagine if these other systems didn't have age divisions and you had a 5-year-old with a 20-year-old, like how do you even judge that, right? So I think that's the biggest argument, is the age gap is infinite now. Like it's endless. And people think that it should have age divisions. Age cap is needed. I think it should, but maybe I think there should be age cap, but like maybe 35, 100%, no questions asked. Okay, here's an opposite opinion. Miss Universe is about representation and being of service. So I think it's not a bad idea. And going off of this opinion, and kind of going into even body image too, with Miss Universe and Miss USA, or just anything in the body positivity movement and everything, becoming Miss USA, when you are Miss USA, there is nothing that you do that requires your body to be seen or like displayed. So what I'm saying is like some people think that there shouldn't or there couldn't be a plus size Miss USA. But my opinion of that is, what Miss USA's job, she's not walking around in a swimsuit. And even if she was, that doesn't mean you can't be plus size, obviously. But she's not walking around in a swimsuit. She doesn't do anything with her body after she wins. The only time you're wearing a swimsuit is during the Miss USA competition. So therefore, it doesn't take a small person. You don't have to be physically skinny to be Miss Universe or Miss USA. So kind of going back to this point, being Miss Universe doesn't require you to be under 28. You could be whatever age and be Miss Universe. If it's truly just about service and making a difference, you can make a difference and be of service at any age, right? So I think that's what this person is proposing. Like, if it's about representation and service, I don't think it's a bad idea to have no age cap, because you could be any age. Someone says they think that the teen division should be between 13 to 21 and Miss USA should be 21 to 30. I think the age cap should have been at least 35. This person says, I think it relates back to the question of what's the intention of it in the first place. I love your point about it being for a specific time in your life. I never did them, but I feel like the intention is for growth, not to crown the prettiest and most accomplished person. So yes, that is my opinion too. I have, like I said before, I've always thought that pageantry was about growth, and at a certain point in your life. But then again, you can always continue to grow. So I think that is what the conflicting arguments are. Is one side is saying, I can either be saying it's about a time of growth, But then my other part of my brain is saying, well, who says that you can't keep growing past a certain age? You know what I mean? All right, next one. Should have been maximum 35 since that's considered a young adult, or they should have added a new division. Yes. Yes, no age limit is going to create chaos. Looking forward to the shit show. So clearly people have very strong opinions about this specific dynamic and what that means for the future of Miss Universe, Miss USA, and pageantry. And I'm honestly eager to see what that looks like in the future. So the question that I propose, I've talked about since the beginning of the episode so far. Do you think everyone should be in every room? So before we get into the submissions, I'm going to give a couple examples. So let's talk about the Victoria's Secret fashion show. The Victoria's Secret fashion show has been something that's been a staple since forever. Like I remember watching it when I was younger, watching it in my teenage years, young adulthood, and the beautiful sparkly runways, huge wings. It was so desirable, so unattainable, so gorgeous and everything. And I just loved watching it every December. Like I would get my snacks out and watch Victoria's Secret fashion show. It was just iconic. The past 4 years, I believe, they stopped doing a fashion show in the name of inclusion, I guess, And I think that they took that 4-year break. Also because we have Savage Fenty, Rihanna's line. She started doing fashion shows, and her fashion shows are amazing. So much inclusivity. You see literally any kind of person that you can think of in your head is in that show. And when I watch her show, it is such a warm, fuzzy feeling to be able to see so many people and know how many people feel represented in that moment by watching that show. And I love that. And I think Victoria's Secret was like, oh shit, we cannot compare to that, especially in a progressive, moving society when people want to feel seen, they want to be heard, they don't want to see the same copy paste body over and over again walking down a runway. So that caused Victoria's Secret having to change up their formula. And they recently came back literally this year. And their debut was kind of during New York Fashion Week, which was only a couple weeks ago. And they showed like a sneak peek, or they showed like what we can kind of expect for their fashion show. And I don't know when the fashion show is. And now there's a lot of opinions now how people don't like the new and quote unquote improved fashion show because it doesn't look as glamorous. It doesn't look like something that we liked watching growing up. It doesn't look desirable, and that idea of like, oh, we want to do that, or that's so cool. So now it's lost its quote unquote touch. So you see how this is all kind of relating to each other in the sense of we want inclusivity, but we want it at a certain point. And then we complain when it's too inclusive. And that just made my brain spiral because I was just like, okay, where is the line then? Because we literally will complain about anything. We're complaining about that the girls are all, size 0, size 2, 00, and then we add different body types and different kinds of women and whatever. And now people are like, oh, it's not desirable anymore. So which one do you want? The thing about it is, I think a lot of times what happens when we try to be more inclusive is we take the desirability, is that a word? Desirability out of the idea of it. So Victoria's Secret, you remember them, they are hot, they are glamorous, they are stunning, they worked hard for their bodies, they are strutting down the runway, they're beautiful, they're unattainable. That's not to say that when you bring more people in the room and all different kind of people to the room, it should still have that effect. Just like Savage Fenty does. When I watch the Savage Fenty show, I don't feel like they're not attainable. That to me feels desirable. All the shapes, all the sizes, all the women, all the men on that show, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're so cool. That's because Rihanna didn't take their sex appeal out of the show just because she adds different types of bodies. A lot of times that's what happens. And take Miss America, they took the swimsuit competition out of the pageant, all in the name of inclusivity. So what are you trying to say? Plus size girls can't wear a swimsuit on stage? That's why you took it away so people can feel more comfortable? No, showcase all body types in a swimsuit on stage. That's what should be happening. So with Victoria's Secret, I think people wanted to see inclusivity, but then also at the same level of glam. Just because you add more people to the room doesn't mean you have to take down the glam and take down the sex appeal and all of that. You know what I mean? Like, I think that is what Victoria's Secret was missing when they kind of changed up this fashion show. We still want to see the big old wings. We still want to see the Swarovski crystal runway. We still want to see all the glitz and the glam of Victoria's Secret, but we just wanted to see different types of people on that runway. So because of the fact that Victoria's Secret changed it, it feels less desirable. So then it proposed this idea of, should we just have kept it the way it was before because it was desirable and these women were hot and we were like, yes, yes, yes. That is why, part of the reason why I proposed the idea, this question as well. So then you also take things like the Met Gala. The Met Gala is for A-list celebrities. And a couple years ago, Anna Wintour, the person that invites everybody to the Met Gala, invited a lot of influencers. And people had a lot to say. They did not want influencers in that space. Why? Because they don't probably value what an influencer does, or they look at an influencer as a regular person and they don't fit the criteria to be in the same room as an A-list celebrity. You get what my point is. So should everyone be in every room? So most likely you don't think an influencer should be in the same room as a Beyonce, because you don't look at them as the same. You look at that this person is regular and you would have no desire to be this person because of the fact that they feel really close to home. You feel like you could do that too. You feel like you can get out your phone and become an influencer and film just like this person, but you don't feel like you could be Beyonce. That's desirable. That's unattainable. And so when you put those two worlds together, you're like, somebody doesn't belong in this room. And it's the influencer. That's what your opinion is going to be. So once again, just reiterating, you probably don't believe that everyone should be in every room. Another example is, so kind of going on the idea of desirability. Why are the Kardashians so famous? Why do people watch them every Thursday? Why are they on season like 22 of Keeping Up with the Kardashians? The answer is because they are desirable. We as a society love to watch things that we cannot relate to. At least I do. And I can know that's just a fact, because that's why people are famous and we love to watch, the rich lifestyle, all of that, because we can't relate to it. And something in our brain likes to be able to watch something that we cannot obtain. It's just entertaining, because why would we want to watch everyday people every day on TV and on social media? I'm already regular. I want to watch another person that got to check their bank account. I want to watch another person that got to save. I want to watch another person that got a regular wardrobe. No, I want to watch somebody that is shopping on Rodeo Drive. I want to watch somebody that is swiping that card. I want to watch somebody that is partying every weekend with Drake and all the A-list celebrities. That's what I want to watch, because that's not my life yet, okay? That's not my lifestyle. So therefore, I like to desire it. And that's why the Kardashians are such a staple in our society, is because we get to desire their lifestyle. So the idea of desirability is what makes, which is what answers the question, should everyone be in every room? And most 9 out of 10, the answer is going to be no. You don't think it's no because of the fact that especially if you have a progressive mindset like myself, your automatic answer is, of course, everyone should be in every room. Like, that's inclusivity, baby. But then at the same time, you don't actually think that, because the examples, influencers at the Met Gala, you probably don't like that. Regular Kardashians out, regular people on TV. No, I don't want to watch that. I really don't. You know what I mean? So therefore, part of my opinion is no, everyone shouldn't be in every room. So to go into your submissions, we have no, because certain rooms are unique to people, and that's what makes them special. If everyone is in every room, it takes away some of the specialness of it. Yes, that is kind of like what my opinion is, wrapped up in a lump sum, is it takes the uniqueness and specialness out of it. And going and relating it back to Miss Universe, and this was another submission somebody had that I didn't put on it, but women, have worked so hard to go to Miss USA, and it's supposed to be a select group of women that get to go to Miss USA and Miss Universe every year. And now when you open it up to everyone, I think what it feels like to people is, oh, it's easier to get now because everyone can do it. People like the idea of feeling exclusive, and people like the idea of exclusivity. And once again, the idea of desirability. Those are all like within the same pool. So this person saying that it makes it less special because everyone can do it is a common take on this type of situation. Next one. I think it depends. If you are truly bringing something in the room, then sit at the table. Honestly, yeah. Okay. When it comes to women, absolutely. Women should be allowed to feel their prime at any age, not just their youth. Yes. And that is like that is my other big opinion about it. That's kind of contradicting my other opinion is I do feel like it should not be you should not feel like you're at your prime at a certain age. Your prime should be at any age. You always continuing to grow, and I think especially for women, we live in a society that they tell you that your prime is your 20s, and women fear turning 30. Like they're holding on to their 20s. Like I feel like that's always a running joke or whatever it is. People fear just getting older, which honestly is crazy because I'm like, you don't want to get older, you just want to die. Like what the hell? I want to get older. But anyway, people fear getting older. So that all plays into just the fear of like losing beauty or like you lose your worth or you're not in your prime, all the yada, 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 all this shit that we're fed to as women. And so I think this is a great point because once again, you're not at your prime under 28 and you can continue to be hot and walk down a swimsuit at 50, 60, 70 if you would like. All right, next one. No, I don't think every room should be for everyone. I know it's not quote unquote woke for me to say, but those groups are special and idolized for a reason. It's not for everybody. It's for a select group, which makes it desirable. Oh yeah, so this person literally even used the same terminology, desirable. I think that's like the biggest thing that people are thinking about with this new age change or just in general with inclusivity and having everyone in the same rooms. Next one. Miss America did the change, and I was told I was too far along in my career. So I ended up feeling like a disadvantage in the Miss America organization to be older. So I agree it is a phase. So this is kind of an opposite take, which I'll kind of read the next person's too. It says, um, hard question, but I think you can't compare an 18-year-old to a 55-year-old. In the interview, I think older women is an advantage, but then in appearance, young age helps. So I'll kind of talk about both of those. On the flip side, what could happen with this no age cap thing is that you have people that are very far along in their career, and it might be a disadvantage because it's intimidating. The thing about everything, it has a boundary. So you have people that would say, oh, it's really cool that there's older women that can compete. But then you could have a woman that's competing and she's so accomplished. And now you have a judge that's kind of like, oh, maybe she's too accomplished. You're always too much of something. That's just how society is. So like this girl is saying she competed at Miss America organization and she was told that she was too accomplished because she was on the back end of the age cap. So they thought, okay, maybe she's already too far along to be doing Miss America type of thing. So that's an issue that could come into play too. But then on the other side too, what this person is saying is, that when you're older, you might be too far along in your career. But then when appearance wise, people might be like, okay, well, this person looks quote unquote better because they're younger. So either way, it could cause some type of that's why I'm just curious about what the judging criteria is going to look like. And I feel like what will help with all of this is if they're a little bit more candid about how everything is scores to a T, because I'm just so curious of what this is going to look like. All right, next one. Well, people can play football until 46. Look at Tom Brady. Okay, yeah, and that's a really good example of like, should everyone be in every room? As long as you're able to do what is supposed to be done in that said room, then I guess you should be in the room because Tom Brady is like the GOAT and he's 46 years old. And I don't know how old LeBron James is, but he's still playing basketball and he's not the youngest person in the field on the court. So, really if, they could do it, then why can't you be 46 and be Miss Universe? Or why can't you be this or that and be a Victoria's Secret fashion show? Those are questions that we kind of have to think about too, and that double standard, especially when it comes to something that's about beauty. When beauty's involved, we tend to have an opposite opinion. We look at Tom Brady, we're like, well, he could still do it because he's talented enough and he's still beating all these other people in the field. And it's like, okay, well, you could still be beating all these other girls that are in their early 20s and you're 50, 60 and you're killing them on the runway, you're killing them at Miss Universe, So that is a really good point because we let it happen in sports often. All right, next one. I don't see why not. Everyone could be in the same room. Yes, and that's most people. That's going to be your initial opinion anyway, just because like, why would you not think that everyone should be in every room? Like the whole point is to have ample amount of inclusivity, diversity, and see yourself and have a seat at the table. Like that's all people have been fighting for decades and decades. Next one, hard question, but I read that one. Okay, next one. No, but I do like the age cap just for the chaos. Oh, period. You just like being messy. Okay, short answer, no. It's okay to be marginalized, especially when there are so many outlets to explore if this certain brand or event or activity doesn't align with you and your lifestyle. Okay, so this person is basically saying, no, everyone does not need to be in every room because at this point, there are a lot of rooms for you to be in that do align with you and your values or all of that. And so, once again, I'm split down the middle with that type of opinion because, on one hand, I do agree with that because just going back to Miss Universe, if Miss Universe has an age cap of under 28, there's another pageant that has an age cap of 32. There's another pageant that has an age cap of 55. So there's another system for you to be able to compete in. Or and this goes with anything. If someone or a brand or a company doesn't align with your values, you can find a brand or company that does. You don't have to I'm not gonna force myself into a room that does not want me at the end of the day. So I'm not gonna make a shape fit in a shape that don't supposed to be there. But on the flip side, the reason why this could be tricky is because if you start getting like race or religion or sexuality into it, and that's where it becomes like unconstitutional. Because in one way, you can't say, well, just go find a room that allows you in there. Think about how that sounds. That sounds kind of crazy. Because then, if say I'll just take myself as a Black woman, if I wanted to do something and someone's like, oh, I'm not getting the job, I'm not getting it because I'm Black, and they're like, well, just go find a space that allows you to be in it. Go to the BET Awards. Like that would sound crazy because we're talking about race. So where does the line end? And that's my dilemma because I can't have this opinion and then somebody says something else, like if it includes race or sexuality or religion and not letting somebody in because of those kind of things. And then I'm like, wait, that doesn't count. That's different though. And it's like, is it different? Because you tried to exclude someone else from a different type of room. So you see my confliction. And I feel like when you're listening to this, you're going to be like, oh yeah, I see all these points because you do go back and forth. All right, next one. I just agree with you. I agree with you, what you said in the first clip about how it's at a time for a certain period. I feel like this was a time for my growth. And a lot of people do feel like that. I mean, especially a pageant girl, like you feel like you grew a lot at that point, and then you kind of move on to the next chapter. Last one. This is too broad of a question. It's definitely more situational if everyone should be in every room. And absolutely, like when I proposed this question, I knew that it was going to be mixed reviews. I knew that there was a situation for everything. And like, once again, when I'm talking about the blanket statement of should everyone be in the room or should everyone be deserving to be in each kind of room, the answer is 100% obviously yes. Yes, yes, yes. Like, once again, people have worked so hard to have a seat at the table, get the tools to be able to build your own table and to have a voice at the table, all of that. Like, I would never ever say that people should not be allowed to be in certain rooms. My question more is in more specific. So it is very situational. So I do agree. The question's very broad, but that's why I kind of try to give the examples of Miss Universe, the Victoria's Secret fashion show, influencers at the Met Gala, all of that. I think that was my main point. So I hope that made sense of what this was like an episode of what my brain feels like. I wake up and I think about so many things and my opinions conflict itself all day. I'm just contradicting my own opinions throughout the entire day. And I'm just like, okay, I do agree with this, but on the other side, I do also agree with this because I think with this situation, there is not a right and wrong answer. There's not a right and wrong answer if you believe that women should be a certain age and compete at Miss USA or they should not be. It's not wrong to think that. I guess more of the question is it wrong? Is it wrong to think? Yes, I'm connecting the dots. Is it wrong to think that everyone shouldn't be at every table or every room? So let me give you another example. I just thought about it. Laker girls. They're the Lakers basketball team, Lakers. They're the dance team. Throughout the years recently, a lot of pro dance teams have allowed boys to be on the dance team. And it actually started with someone that I actually know. His name's Quentin, and then another person that we worked with before at Disney, Napoleon. They were the first male dancers to be on a pro dance team. They auditioned for the Rams and they made the team, which was incredible, literally historic. Like to be able to be the first male on a pro dance team. Pro dance teams are these are professional dancers. They've trained their entire life, but a huge part of it also is towards the male gaze, which is why, they're in the little outfits, they're dancing around, they're super cute. We can't deny that pro dance is for the male gaze. So when these two boys entered the chat, obviously this is a male dominated sport. Everyone was like, oh my God, there's these two guys on the dance team. A lot of people were upset, but they really opened the doors for so many other males to start dancing in these other professional sports teams. And now there's like hundreds of guys on these teams, not hundreds, but there's like so many guys that are auditioning and making these teams across the country from NFL and NBA. So that is really, really cool that they were able to open those doors. So there are people. So then going back to Laker girls, they are Laker girls. They do not allow boys. I don't know if that will change. It could change in their next chapter. I don't know. But as of right now, they have not had boys on their team. Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, I highly doubt that they would be having boys on their team. I would be honestly shocked if they did that. And they're not budging with that. So my question with that, is it wrong to not budge? Is it wrong to just keep something the same? Is it wrong to just think that specific people shouldn't be in certain rooms? So that's another example. For me, in my opinion about that, I don't think it's wrong to think that Laker girls should stay just girls, only because you're allowed to have spaces that are just for women, and that's okay. I think it could be a little tricky to just demand that, well, it should be for everyone. Spaces are created for girls and for women for a reason, just because of the cards that we've been dealt in a society. So I think it's okay to have these kind of spaces that are just for girls. So I don't think it's wrong to think that, but I do agree that it's great that boys are allowed to be on these teams, and they should be on these teams. They're great dancers, professional dancers, hardworking dancers, and they should have the same opportunities to be in the spotlight and be on the field just like the girls. But I don't think it's wrong to think that teams could just stay as just girls. So that is what I mean by I feel like that's actually the better question. Is it wrong to think that certain rooms should be for certain people? Yeah, that was the question. All right. I hope that episode made sense. I feel like I dropped some gems. I feel like it's going to make you think, truly, truly make you think about things like this. And next time you're in a situation where you're like, wait a second, I remember Imani talked about this. What are my opinions on this? You'll think of this episode. All right, so for Imani's final thoughts. So I'm going to kind of read off here just so I don't miss a beat of what my final thought was. So our society is hard to please because on one end, we think that everyone should be included and represented. But on the other hand, when we do that, sometimes it feels like it's less desirable because it's no longer exclusive to a certain group of people. I think there's a way to do both. We just have to find that balance of what that looks like. A lot of times we fear what we don't know or understand. So think about that when you see changes happening in our society and media. And kind of emphasizing that again, the last part, a lot of times we fear what we don't know. So when things do happen and change happens, we're like, oh, I don't like that. But then, time goes on and you're like, wait, that was actually a really good change. We get afraid when something changes because we don't understand it yet. I remember specifically when Instagram got stories and I was like, they copied Snapchat. They want to be Snapchat. I'm never going to use an Instagram story. Oh my God, this is absurd. Just, first world problems, right? And I was like, now I don't even have Snapchat. I only use Instagram stories. So that at that moment, that change felt so annoying to me. But then as time went on, I ended up not even using the other app and I only use Instagram stories. So don't fear change. Like if, going back to Miss Universe added this no age cap. You have a lot of opinions, strong opinions, you're upset, whatever the case may be, but don't fear it. Like you only feel like that also just because you don't understand it yet. And I'm talking to myself too. I'm excited to see what this change looks like, what this change brings. Just because right now I'm kind of like, oh, I don't know about it, but it's because I don't know. Victoria's Secret fashion show. I'm like, I don't know about it because it's not looking like how I liked it. It's very different. That's okay too. I'm like, I'm also still talking to myself. Embrace the change, give it a chance, give change a chance, and see what happens. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. We talked about a lot of different things, but I hope you understood where I was coming from, even my contradicting opinions. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I love you so much, and I will see you next week. Bye. Hello, dear Imani.